Let's start. As usual, we begin by looking for checks and escape squares. The black has just one escape square on g7 and our bishop on f7 is hanging. And we have one immediate check, knight going to e6. So before giving this check, we need to protect our bishop. And we have two options. We can protect with the pawn or with the rook. Both work perfectly. In real game, probably g6 pawn would be better because it's hanging now. However, the rook f1 is good as well. So after bishop to g5, knight e6 is the fork. We can take the bishop. So now that's checkmate on e6. The king is attacked, and the knight protects the g7, and the bishop protects g8 and e8. The white's king doesn't have any escape squares, both squares controlled by our queen, and our queen attacking on h2 and g2. However, g2 is protected by the knight, so the knight on h2 is not protected by anything. That's why when we bring support, bishop f4, so we are ready to give checkmate on h2. The black king has just one escape square on g8, and we have a couple of checks available. Queen f6, but that won't work because the queen can take and the king can take. Queen g7, that looks better. The king can take, and imagine if you have dark square bishop somewhere on b2, then queen g7 would be checkmate. However, we don't have dark square bishop. That's why we need to figure out something else. Let's see for more checks. Checks with the knight. Let's say on g5 won't work, and moreover we cannot bring the knight to g5 because the black is going to take d e. However, we have our rook on f1 and it's pinning the f5 pawn. That's why we can bring our knight to g4. So it's not hanging. So now we have perfect square on h6 for our knight. We give this check and attack the king and take away their only escape square on g8. So knight h6, check and checkmate. All squares are taken. The king has just one escape square on h1, and now queen is very close and ready to deliver checkmate. So queen h2 won't work because the queen is not supported, and then king can escape to f1. So we need to figure out which piece can help, and that's our bishop. So we bring bishop to e4. So now the bishop supports our queen on g2. That's check. The black king has two escape squares, and we have a couple of checks available already. So we can give check on g5, but after giving check on g5, the king can escape to f7 or h8 or f8. So we are not making the number of escape square less. We can give check on h6, but our queen is not protected. And after giving check on h6, the h8 square is not taken yet. So let's figure out where we could give check. So queen f6, that looks very good because it's protected, and it takes away all the escape square from the king. So now we need just to figure out how to bring our queen, and we have a couple of options. We can go queen f5, queen f6, or queen f3, queen f6. Queen f5 would be better because it's close to the king. And now checkmate in f6. So all the squares are taken from the king, and their queen is protected by our bishop. That's a very interesting position. The black king has 2 escape squares, and both squares are on the 8th rank. And we have a couple of checks. So in the real game, we would have taken here and taken probably the rook, or like taken more pawn and win the game. But that's a special exercise, so we don't take it here because that's not checkmate. So we give check, and the king is going to escape. So that's why we're going to go rook a8. So now we took these squares from the king. So now we need to find the correct check and checkmate. So king knight e5. The king doesn't have any squares available to escape, but the knight is just hanging. But knight h8, that looks decisive. That's checkmate. The king is completely trapped by its own pieces, and we need to find the right check to finish the game. So we could have removed our knight and then give bishop h4 check, but the white can block with the knight on g6 and vacating the e2 square for the king. But that's why before removing our knight to g4, we go bishop h4. So now we're all set for discard check, knight d3 check. So take a look that the king is attacked twice. So cd is impossible because the king is in check, and knight g3 is impossible as well because the king is in check by the knight. That's discovered check and checkmate. The king has one escape square here, and we have a couple of checks available. So rook, let's say rook f8 check. Well, that's possible, but the e8 rook can take back, and queen g7 checkmate won't work because knight is controlling g7 square. And rook g7, that's possible as well, and the knight cannot take because queen g7 checkmate. Like in the real game, we probably would play like that, check, and then check again. So now it's checkmate in 2, so we just take on h7, so we take control over h8 square and vacate the f7 square for the queen f7 checkmate. The white king has 3 escape squares, and we have 2 checks available on c4 and b5. However, if you give this check right now, then the king is going to escape to c2. That's why before giving this check, we are going to take away the c2 square from the king, and now we are ready to deal with checkmate on c4 or b5. Both work. The king has just 1 escape square on f1, and we have immediate check on h1. However, our rook is not protected, so that's why before giving this check, we're going to bring the knight to g3. F2 pawn is pinned by our bishop on b6, so that's why our knight is untouchable there. That's why we are ready to deliver checkmate on h1.